Live, after yesterday, I was telling you about DC. Some of the little historical things about DC. 68 square miles, 61.2 actual is the land. The rest of it is split up in water with the Anacostia and Potomac River. I told you Virginia took its land back, not because they did a Benedict Arnold or they didn't want to be part of DC. They actually didn't want to be a part of DC because of the reason that they cannot vote or have representation in Congress. So what usually happens in that situation is why we have our tags, representation, with the taxation without representation. That's what I meant to tell you. So we went to street namings and stuff, as numerical rise, as number streets, they run north and south. Letters and alphabet streets run east and west. Once you get finished with the alphabets, you go into actual naming streets. And those streets will start with 2-syllable words. After 2-syllable words, you get 3-syllable words. After 3-syllable words, you get trees, plants, flowers, and stuff like that. But nevertheless, they still all alphabetized, so it'll be very easy to navigate in Washington, D.C. with no problem. Now, you want to know what happened in certain neighborhoods. In some neighborhoods, it's not happening. Some of them is not alphabetized. For instance, take you to the neighborhood I grew up in, Trinidad. Trinidad was named, it's basically out of carpentry. And every city piggyback off it is carpentry. So you will go into Trinidad and you'll find street names like Holbrook, right? You'll find Staples, Oaks, Orange. All these things has something to do with building. People think, oh, it's Trinidad, it's named after the country, Trinidad and Tobago. No, it wasn't named after Trinidad and Tobago. It was named behind an individual who was building this city up. And they gave that neighborhood to them. Like, next time I talk to you, I'll tell you how Petworth got his name. Or I'll tell you how the Brightwood got his name up there in that area. Or I'll tell you how, Garfield in Southeast, they got his name. But it's a lot of history behind DC that we don't know about, and that history plays a part of our black inheritance. We was once deemed Chocolate City, and we wasn't called Chocolate City for nothing. We were 78% strong, if not stronger. I think my uncle was telling me 80% of the people that live here was African American. And the gentrification, I don't want to talk bad about our mayor, but she knows what she's doing, and we need to do what we have to do, what we're supposed to do when it comes time to voting. So we'll work on that. It's kind of hot out here too, y'all. But that's another episode where we got to get y'all out there to vote. Vote, vote, vote. So over in Trinidad, DC got the largest intersection in Washington, DC. And it's the only intersection in which you will have 2 streets, 2 avenues, and 2 roads actually intersecting with each other. And that's what they now call the Starburst over there by Hechinger Mall. You have Blainsburg Road, Benning Road. You have 15th Street. You have 8th Street. You have Florida Avenue. You have Maryland Avenue. So that's the only intersection in DC where you have that intersection. Now, how the roads come about. These roads and these new names is coming up as the city starts to build new neighborhoods and have to rename streets and giving names to different certain areas that never once even had streets. So basically the roads, if you was on a road, these roads either led you to some type of interstate, parkway, freeway, expressway, or whatever you want to call it. That was more so true back in the day. So if you want to know why was so many roads being named in Southeast, like Stevens Road, Sumner Road, Stanton Road, Primary Road, all those roads, that's because it was surrounded by Siouxland Parkway. It was an easy access to hit Siouxland Parkway or get to an expressway such as I-95, 295, 695, all those areas. So that's how some of the streets was being named. Now, to the monuments and memorials. Okay, let's take the S off of monuments, because it ain't but one monument. And let's get the definition between monuments and memorials. Monument is for someone that is living. And during that time, the Washington Monument was in plans to be made when your first president, George Washington, was still living. So that's how the monument came up. Took a long time to get it up there, though. All you gotta do is Google Washington Monument. It'll tell you how long it took, how much money it took, how the Civil War played in the halt of the continuous building of the monument, why is the discoloration in the stonage and all that type of stuff. Yeah, read more on that. The memorials in the city are for folks that have passed and gone on. And if you were to take an aerial view of the city, which I've done before, which was pretty cool, I really like it. Can't do that no more now because of all the security and stuff. But if you ever look down on Washington, D.C., or just take a trip up to the top of the Washington Monument, these monuments is laid in the form of a Christian cross. Yes, a Christian cross, like this cross that you see that I'm holding up right now, is laid in the form of a Christian cross. And I tell you, by using my cross, I'm gonna show you the centerpiece of the cross is where the Washington Monument stands. On each end of the cross, you got the White House and you got the Jefferson Memorial. At the top of it, you have the United States Capitol, and at the bottom you have the Lincoln Memorial. That was not by accident or coincidence. It was by design. Okay, so what's the best way to hide a secret or tell the secret or put a secret in your face? In plain sight. That's how you do it. So tomorrow I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about some of these memorials and what the different causes is, and we're gonna start talking a little bit more about the blacks in Washington, D.C., because we played a major role in this. Like I said, we was once deemed a chocolate city. We was a chocolate city. That's what we were called. So I'm gonna tell you more about the black history of D.C. We're gonna start with how the Martin Luther King Memorial was made and the controversy that it took for them to do that. Then we're going to start talking about the Anacostia area. We're going to move around and we're going to talk about other different areas like Deanwood. A lot of people don't know that Deanwood is one of the very few spots in Washington, D.C. where there's not a lot of row houses. If anybody know what row houses is, they just adjacent houses. And D.C. is famous for its row houses. As a matter of fact, over 80% of the city is completely filled with row houses. But this particular city, this particular area over in Northeast D.C. called Deanwood, you're not going to find too many row houses or houses attached to each other. Why is that? And it was a black neighborhood. Well, I'm going to leave you with this so you continue to come back and watch tomorrow so I can tell you the rest of it. Deanwood